the inner wall of the castle. And what would have been here would have been a wooden bridge across the great ditch, and then there would have been a pair of gates that would have opened and closed, and that would have been the original entrance. And so you've got the buttresses on either side giving some support, and plates of buildings that were attached to this tower. Just a bit slippy. So this was the site of the kitchens, and also a store of the buttery, where they used to store lots of beer and wine. And the person who looked after the buttery was someone called the butler. So, Cheshire sandstone. And sandstone is basically like a giant sandcastle, so it wears away. So what was happening in the 17th century and coming into the 18th century, it was all starting to wear away. So that's when Thomas Harrison was given the job of refacing it. So can you see these in the middle section, these much more regular blocks? This is all that was done by Thomas Harrison in the year 1818. So you can see some more hearting stone along here, so this was giving structural strength to a wall that came out. So just along here, this courtyard would have been the hustle and bustle of medieval life, all things going on, cooking, trading, counting, prisoners being dealt with. Would have been crazy scene at the time. You have a look at the castle, right? We now know it's the back, don't we? Right. This window here is much more typical of a medieval window, that sort of size. The ones that are above, they would have been put in by Thomas Harrison in 1818, a much more modern style of doing it. And you can also see the line of an apex along there, cut into the stone. So what that indicates, there was a roof structure that came out along here. Yeah, so there was a fire in 1302, lovingly called Bollard Hedge. Right? And but what it is it's actually the site of a medieval well. And this well went down 20 metres with the water at 18 metres, because we're very close to the River Dee, so we have to go below the level. The city walls were originally Roman, and they were built up in the medieval times, and then of course when the Civil War struck, 1642, they were increased again to give extra protection. And you can't really see because of this line of trees, but just beyond is the River Dee. And this was an amazing area of trade. We used to have, on the far side of the bank, there were fishermen, there's fishermen's cottages, still called that today, fishermen's. There's a lane called Skinner's Lane, and that's where they used to do tanning.
Have you done the paranormal bit?
No.
She's scary. No, it's not scary. I'm a black here. The only ones that I've got.
So you can actually see the motte if you just peek over the wall there. You can see the motte. Yeah, well, it's such a commanding position, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see the Grosvenor Bridge there. That was actually built by Thomas Harrison as well. And have a look at there as well. This area that we stood on, this was actually built by Lord Cholmondeley in around 1745, and it was built as a gun platform, and he was going to place 12 6-pound cannon on here. It was really a show of strength, because just across the river there is the Welsh borderlands, and at this time, we're talking, this is the time of Peterloo and all that, and the Jacobite rebellions, so there was a lot of civil unrest going on in the country. So they had an idea to put a line of cannon along here as a show of strength, right? To like, come on, have a go if you think you're hard enough, right? To suppress the Welsh. Because even though the Welsh, you know, people think the Jacobite rebellion is Scottish, it was more of a political thing about the line of Stuart kings. So even though this massive platform was built around 1745, it was, he only ever put 4 cannons here. And it actually comes from the French sally to leave and port door, sally port, and it goes further back, doesn't it, to actually Latin port, Portia and salty. And it would have been, this is a medieval arch, but it would have been straight down. So it was used to sortie out and sally forth, to either get supplies in, or if you need to get troops down there for some reason. In the medieval times it was straight down, but in the age of gunpowder you don't want any straight corridors. So in the 1750s they actually put 2 right-angled bends in there, so that cannonballs wouldn't be able to fire straight up. So it was like a protective thing. See that hill over there in the distance? If you've got a good, what's it called? Mofamo. There's a little monument on there, Mofamo. Now that was actually built again by Thomas Harrison. He built it for the Jubilee of George III. So he has a lot of influence around here. The bridge was built by Thomas Harrison. We've mentioned the repairs to the castle.
Wasn't it rumoured that where the architect was, he built the house?
That was his house.
Yeah, so you could watch the work on the bridge.
Yeah, that was his house.
That's why it's called the architect.
Yeah, there's a model of the bridge inside as well. This building's of stone on the side, probably about 1210. And the way they used to build castles in those days was they used to build the towers first, and then they'd build the walls later on to connect everything together. So that's the flag tower. So just while we're here, this building, I mentioned it before, it's called Napier House. This was actually built in 1830, and it was built for the enlisted men when the site was a garrison. That building in the distance there, that's called Colvin House, and that was built as the officers' building when it was a garrison. Now these are still owned by the Crown Estates, and these are Charles's houses, right? So we don't have access to these, right? But we would love to be able to use it. They've not been used for well over 40 years. Yeah, so this is called the Flag Tower, and it was a flag tower. This is probably the building that's been sort of changed the most over the years. It's been battered, it's been changed. So you've got a Tudor doorway down there, and can you see up here you've got like corridors coming off? So there would have been all buildings along here. Like I said, it was about a third taller again, and then you've got another apex cut into there. So there was another structure coming off there that was built around the Civil War period. To the right you can see that black mark on the wall, and the, like brickwork there. Well, that's actually a site of an oven. So there's a bread oven. On here you've got some blind doors, and we've just spotted in there at the top. Can you see that sort of greyish stone there? That's a medieval finial for a column. So there was a medieval structure here as well. That's cut out there, that was cut through in the Second World War as a platform for observation. And all these buildings along here were demolished by the military in the 1980s. Agricola is a Roman term. There's no connection with Roman at all. It's not Roman, it's medieval. If you look on some maps, it's actually called the Julius Caesar Tower, again because it was just a fad for naming things at that time. But if you were a Victorian, you would probably have called this the magazine. So we'll find out why when we pop inside. Okay. We know, don't we, folks, that that's the original entrance to the inner wall, and we put on various displays for people to see. It's always free. We've got the next one coming up on the 22nd and 23rd of June, and that's going to be part of the Chester Heritage Festival. So it's going to be a multi-period history event. Everyone in costume, and it's going to be from the medieval period up to the Second World War. So it'll be a fun event for everyone. We always try and make things hand-on people. Always try and make things to be hand-on so everyone enjoys it and then they can get a little connection to it. If you look at the wall on this side, on my left, can you see the stonework is all eroded? Yeah. Whereas if you look at the brickwork on the right-hand side, that looks much better condition. And that's because this would have been originally open. Remember, traffic's coming in and out all the time. And what would have happened over years, rain and wind would have blown onto this side and started to erode all the sandstone away.
Fight with the right hand, unless you left handed.
So this is the chapel of Mary de Castro, or Mary of the Castle. And can you see that little corridor there? That's do you remember when we were outside, that little blind corridor? That's it there, where Henry III could come in directly into this chapel. So, even though it looks pretty plain now, what happened was, in the 1980s, it was all whitewashed by the military. And in the 1980s, they started to remove the whitewash, and they actually found remnants of medieval frescoes. So what we can do is hopefully show you some. Oops, that's not very good. Let's try a different one. Some fine little scrollwork in the corner there. Now we actually have, someone gave us a print of castle from about 1830, and this is their drawing of the wall. So you can see how much of it was faded. That's like a North African design that's quite often used. So again, people are thinking when they came back from the Crusades, they might have incorporated some of the artwork they've seen into the chapel here. Now, looking at various other this door is actually lined in copper, because copper is unique and it doesn't give a spark, because you don't want any sparks around the barrels of gunpowder. But the military was still nervous about this, and because they had their, we know what the soldiers are like, the soldiers were carrying barrels of gunpowder up the stairs of sparks.
You can see the arch. Oh, sorry. See the arch corridor there?
Yes.
I like to see it. Characters there and everyone will see it. Yeah. His hands are here. I never seen this. He's like my back hurts.
Got scratched there.
Scratch about 7 inches long.
Right.
Yeah, it's the fun and games room.
We won't stay there all day. It was probably a sword.
Yeah. He's ginger, he's Celtic, it's going to happen, isn't it?
So this room here, I mean, you don't really know what it was used for. It could have been a storeroom, it could have been an administration room, or it could have been a cell. We've got evidence of all three, really. This roof is a modern roof, 1920s or something. But what you can see here is the original footings for an apex roof. So when we go up onto the actual roof, you'll be able to see in the stonework.
It's quite a low one, really.
It would have been a low room, yeah.
So it pretty was just used for stone.
Yeah, we don't know what it was. But this sort of window here, this is the typical medieval window. The window behind you is the window was put in by Thomas Harrison, but then later on the military dug it out to make it this wide expanse. So that wouldn't have been done by Thomas Harrison. This is too coarse for him. The military dug it out to get more light in, really. There, and little weird boxes, and again here, weird boxes, and here. So we don't know what they are. It could just be someone messing around carving, or it could be what they used to call apotrophic symbols, which were witchcraft or evil suppressants, right? And the whole idea is that the evil gets trapped inside little mazes and they can't get out. And where these would have been put, typically they would have been put in dark places inside rooms. Now, this would have had a wooden roof, so this would have been the eaves, so this would have been really dark, right? So it's just a theory that it could be. They're definitely not mason marks because they're too rough to be that. This will be the last stop on our tour. Watch your head here. Well done. Thinking of you. So like I said, the roof is modern, it's lead, so don't walk on that.
a lot of trees.
The English Heritage guy is getting ready. He's actually going to be abseiling across the roof to have a look from the outside. Do you remember the room below had the apex?
Yeah.
Can you see the apex in
yeah.
the stonework there? The apex there, and there's one here as well. And in fact, you'll see another plane there and another one there. So this roof would have had 3 apex roofs, right? They probably did it for structure or something.
And you get a better view of Beeston here, don't you? Thanks to mine.
There's Beeston straight over there.